Okay, so first, to give an overview of the kind of log rotation feature. So you might be aware that, so I have my device here. During the operation of the device, over time, you'll probably be doing a lot of interactions. Like you'll be fetching configuration files, you'll be doing shell commands, et cetera, log collection. Each of these operations, so if we look at velocity, so each of these will actually then are related to a operation that gets processed by the device. And the device, because to kind of debug, what happened for each of these kind of operations on the device side, there will be an associated workflow log. Historically, so let me show where this is just to give a bit of context. So let's clear that. So I'm under the var log tech agent repository, and we'll actually see, so this is kind of typically how it looks after you've been processing the device. This is actually probably not a lot of operations. So we've seen customers that will have like 300, especially if you're having some kind of automated task, which is creating operations, I don't know, daily or something, that can grow pretty quickly. So historically, we've kind of let customers say, hey, you can use your own find command to delete oldest files or whatever. We've kind of left that up to the customer. But because we leave it up to the customer, we've noticed that a lot of the time people didn't actually realize this folder was getting larger and larger. And whilst they're not huge files, so we're still talking about kilobytes per file, over time that can just grow, and it can just pollute your file system, and it can be harder to find things that you're interested in. So now out of the box, we now have default configuration, which will rotate these workflow logs. So the rotation of the logs occurs on a per workflow key. So for instance, that here, this is for the configuration snapshot. So if I'm in velocity and say, hey, please give me that configuration, it's the configuration snapshot, which is doing the work on the device. Or if I'm uploading a file, so a log file, it'll be log upload. So we can now control, I'll just search here. So the logs max.per.operation, this is the configuration, which is then controlling how many files of each type do I want to keep. So because you might have different requirements for different log files, so you can that's reflected by the default setting. So the default is actually 5. I've already been playing around with these settings. So the default, where we have a star, which means all workflows, will have a rotation of 10. Or if there's a more specific rule, it'll choose the more specific rule. So for instance, the software list, which is something which actually doesn't get associated directly via a cloud operation, something that happens locally. When the mapper restarts, we'll ask the agent to give an updated software list. So generally, the most recent one is the most interesting one. So we've basically tweaked it to only show the most recent one, because otherwise that can also clutter your stuff over time. So you can control this. You can change the defaults. If you're saying actually I want 100 for whatever reason, sure, change it. But we can already see that. So the fact that we have software list here once, we only have one workflow log related to the software list. So now if I want to change these settings, edge config. So this is actually an array. So you can actually then add stuff. So if I wanted to be more specific, and yeah, I'll answer the questions shortly. Per add to, I'm gonna go 5 or something. If I do a list again, we can see that the log upload is then on 5. So the reason, so as kind of briefly saw the preview of the message, I was saying, why does Lineage have to implement this themselves? So mostly things like log rotate don't work very well with these file formats, mostly because it needs a bit more domain knowledge about the information on the log files. So because they're a transaction-based system, that per this operation, it's really key if you want to debug something, you can trace it to going, that's the the record, the audit log of that kind of activity. This naming convention doesn't work very well with log rotate, or it ends up you're building a complex like 5-line custom shell script anyway in log rotate. That it can become a little bit more difficult. And also on embedded systems, some people don't have log rotate. So if you have a BusyBox, a really, really small embedded operating system that only has like pre-selected tools, and that's called BusyBox, you don't have log rotate. So you're still looking for a solution there to kind of do this. And because we already have the domain knowledge we know what this workflow log is, we know kind of maybe you want to treat the different log types differently, that we have the information available to us. So yes, you're right. We do try to lean on good Linux tools, and by all means, log rotate is a great tool. But just for this kind of transaction-based log, it's not a great fit. Yeah. So after changing the settings, you do currently have to restart the TED agent. But generally, these are things that you're not really changing so often. So you can usually bake these inside your image and then be good, or manage this from the cloud. And with the new features in 2.0, you can actually then trigger an agent restart when you update TED configuration as well. So now that's running, if we just request, or actually, let me change because it'll be a little bit easier to see. I also want to change I'll put a max limit on 5. I don't want anything more than 5. I guess it makes that kind of setting a little bit redundant. But I just want to put a wildcard, hey, limit of 5. Let's restart the agent again. That's if we just trigger another one. So let's just do here. Log rotate. So we have, do we have some settings here? Doesn't seem to be fully working as expected. I've probably done something wrong. Shout out if you can see the bug. Here, let me just remove this. Is it remove or delete? Can anyone? Oh, there we go. Remove. List here. Stuff. So you can see there's a bit of also magic going on with that we tried to do smart. So you can do add, remove. You can also replace the whole set if you don't even want, if you just want a max, which kind of plays nicely. And if we do this, it seems we have a bug. So at the moment, it's not in 2.0.1, so it's only on the main branch. So you can actually see that on the, so I'm on the main branch at the moment. So not the nice normal or like nice version number, so this is kind of intermediate release. So we do this mostly just to so that we can do the polish and then find these things and then fix it before we do the official releases. So if you install the main branch, you still have there could be the odd bug or two. So we'll fix that through that. But yeah, so hopefully with this, there should be enough control to be able to do most of your kind of like use cases, just so you don't have unbounded log file collection as we go. Cool. So that concludes my bit.